I want to talk about obviously dad topic, so kid related. I want to know about video games and your thoughts on kids, because not that our kids are probably at that age. Lincoln, I think, is more aware, I guess, of screen time now.
He'll play with a phone. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he made a purchase the other day.
I don't know if we talked about this. Yeah, he made a purchase.
For real?
Yeah, he bought Star Trek. He was playing with the Apple TV remote, and I turned around, and it was on the Star Trek page, and I'm like, I feel like he just purchased this. But I thought nothing of it, and I backed out, and I turned off the TV, and then the next day I got an email, your Apple receipt, $24.99, fucking Star Trek.
Did you buy it in HD?
Yeah.
Did you watch it, though?
No, I clicked the there's a problem button, and then it just basically said, I didn't mean to purchase this. I typed, my 1-year-old accidentally bought this. Boop, instant refund. I didn't talk to anybody or have to ask for a refund or nothing. You just instantly refund.
I guess they can see if you've watched it or not.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and it's within 24 hours. They're probably like, whatever. Yeah, so I just want to know, because I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if we touched on this or not, but like Jamie and I grew up playing video games, and I remember like before I even had my own proper system, like my cousins had Atari and then Nintendo. So, and you would play anything and everything, whatever. If it was shooting people or if it was just like Mario Bros, but whatever, it was 8-bit graphics and stuff. And obviously we, in the PlayStation 2 era, that's where we became men and started playing like real games. And there was things like Grand Theft Auto became a real thing, but we're like, what, 14, 15? And it's just like, it's crazy because it's just like, we played that stuff. We turned out fine for the most part. My parents didn't really enforce it, as long I was still doing everything I had to do, work, school, all that stuff. But I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are. You don't really have much experience. You have some experience with video games.
Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like
I
I had a childhood
what are we going to do with
without
video games?
I still, like, I had a Game Boy. I remember my Game Boy. I love my
You
Game
had
Boy.
mine for 14 years.
I had yours for years. I think it was nostalgia because that was my console. Like, I never had a big home TV unit.
Yeah.
But Game Boy was great. I had lots of games. I played that. And I remember my cousins, they had Super Nintendo and N64.
Yeah.
So I played and I loved it. And I think there's obviously with limits, but I still think that there's, like, I mean, realistically, there's 5 of us, right? 6 of us actually as super friends, all having kids within 1 calendar year. 7 years from now, 7 or 8 years from now. So long time. Who knows what's out then? 7 or 8 years from now, all of these kids would get together running, and that's 6 kids with potentially, out of the 6, let's say 4 other small children, maybe 3 years old, running around causing mayhem as well. Having a system like down here in the basement where we are now, where we could be at your house upstairs eating, and having the kids all sit here playing a game, gold.
Mm-hmm.
Gold. Like, I think there's value there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's used as like a like, I'm tired of you, just go play video games all the time, that's not good.
Yeah.
But like as a treat, or like when everyone's okay, you know, your friends are over, sit down, you have like play for a couple hours or whatever, entertain them so that the adults can like be adults for a bit. I think that's huge. And I remember that's how we used it too. Like when we get a family to get-togethers, my cousin again had Super Nintendo, and it's just like we'd get there. I mean, this was different back then a little bit, but we'd just run in, hey everyone, hi, downstairs, Super Nintendo, and like it was, the parents loved it because it was like we weren't out running around fighting or whatever. We were just in the room playing video games. Then dinner, we'd go upstairs, eat dinner, and go back down and play. And it was like a stress-free night for the parents.
So what are you going to do now? By the time your kid's probably old enough to be cognizant of wanting video games, there's like PlayStation 5. And they want it. It's a $400-$500 unit. Like, it's a high-end electronic. So, but you're buying it essentially as kind of like a kid's toy. Like, back in the day of a Super Nintendo, the thing was like gray and purple. Yeah. And like, it was marketed as a kid's toy and stuff.
Yeah.
And
now it's like an adult thing too.
And like, so now it's an expensive electronic to like buy for your kid. Like, if I buy it, it's because like I will use it, but then they can use it.
But that's the thing. To me, it's like I can't justify buying it because I don't use it that much. But now having a kid, and again, I would probably hold out a little bit. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not getting this kid a station, like a system. Maybe he's only 6. Maybe when he's 8, like closer to 8 or 10. Right? I might do that because at 6, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my mind, that's how I see it. A little older.
Anyways, I think your question was more geared towards how you're gonna regulate it and like, are you gonna let like?
Yeah.
Let's assume you're getting these.
But
Systems.
the point is, I don't see myself saying no to video games.
Yeah. So I'll take from my own experience, same as you. My parents never really regulated it. I played hockey up until a point. I got a computer. I stopped playing hockey, and then computer and video games was basically my thing until high school, and then I petered off for a bit and came back and whatever. But if my parents never regulated, and I turned out fine. I think you have to keep an eye on it. Just make sure that he's still being active.
Yeah, but see, the games, like the most hardcore game that you could get when we were Diablo or Doom, right? And Doom was gory,
yeah,
but
I was
it was
playing
like,
Doom when I was 10
right, but it
years
was
old or whatever.
pixelated blood, and yeah, there was a stripper, and you could pay it, but it was like pixelated
Nukem.
That was
boobs.
Duke Nukem, yeah.
Duke Nukem, right? Yeah, sorry. Those games were great, right? But it was like, it's almost even innocent. Like I'm not saying the kids should see that, but now it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And now there's like an actual legit like adult story on top of like before it was just like get from point A to point B. There's no rationale, there's no story, and there's no like characters using the F word every 5 seconds. So yeah, I guess the idea is like how do you like you say keep an eye on it, but
I don't think you need to manhandle what they're doing unless it gets out of control. Like Vanessa's younger brothers, I think at that point I might have manhandled a little bit more.
And that's not necessarily playing violent. It's just the overplaying, like the overuse.
Yeah, no, I just feel like they come home from school, they play video games, and they go to bed. Like that's just what they do.
But that goes back to what we talked about a few episodes back, where we're the type of parents who, I mean, the fact that we play soccer, we want our kids to be active and do stuff, right? So we're going to encourage that in our kids, and so that's not going to, when they have time between the sport that they play, the activity that they do, their homework that they have, and anything else that we maybe like family time of activities, time for video games, that's like it's controlled by the environment that they're in. Not so much like you have half hours. Like, no, we're doing so much other stuff that you don't have time for
I
video
like
games.
the idea of them earning playtime. Like, oh, you did a bunch of chores, okay, you get an hour of video game time. But then the other part of me where I didn't grow up like that feels bad in a way. Yeah,
it would be like me. It'd be like, okay, whatever age of me had access to whatever video game I essentially wanted to play.
Yeah.
So like when your 10-year-old says, "Can I play Grand Theft Auto 6?"
That's a no.
Yeah. So it does change. It's not just so much like as long as they're going to hockey and stuff. So it's just like, and then that's where I agree. Like especially you and I grew up with the video games. It's going to be almost kind of like a little hypocritical, and then like having to tell them to turn it off.
Yeah, but see, even the hypocriticalness, like I remember clearly, it was one very clear memory, going to the doctor's office. Maybe it was like 6 or 7. Going to the doctor's office, like checkups and need whatever I had to do with my mom, and I had a Game Boy. The doctor's office was at Bathurst and college, right down that area. No, downtown. And I remember having a Game Boy, and I would sit on the streetcar, I would sit on the subway, play with my Game Boy, and in the doctor's office, Donkey Kong. I remember literally Donkey Kong, playing Donkey Kong. It was awesome, and I would sit there and just play. My mom would sit beside me, and it was like great. Is that copping out? Is that like?
I don't think so.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I just want my kid to be like, "Here, kid, shut up, play this game."
My grandparents and my mom, I remember them saying something like, "There's worse things I could be doing," right? Like you could have been. Once you got into the 14, 15-year-old age, there were people that were drinking already and going out and doing bad things, smoking. There's people smoking in grade 8 and grade 7.
Yeah.
I was playing video games.
So I'm being devil's advocate because I did it and I see value, especially so Game Boys are gone, but then we'll have another big phone that'll be like gone. Here. Not I know, but like realistically, like
kids
here's your
don't play
phone
with their 3DS even. They just play on their iPad.
Yeah, their iPad, or they'll have something, right? So and he'll play the game on his iPad, whatever, right? So like I'm not sure I'm against that, but like I'll be devil's advocate. Would we not rather that kid instead of playing a video game maybe have a book?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be like, no video game. You want to entertain yourself? Here's a book. Read this book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm probably gonna try to.
Or a comic. So maybe like a comic.
I think by saying no video games, here's a book. You're shining a negative light on video games, though. I don't think there's anything wrong with video games at all.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with video games, but isn't there something better about books?
I don't think so. I think they could.
reading,
I think we can argue for they're equal.
I don't know. I think because that is kind of a big debate because it's just kind of like, well, TV's almost kind of a Cookgate. If you see the lighting shifting, fuck it.
Fall, crash, fire.
If if you like, who's to say that necessarily reading a book is better than an interactive video game where there's hand-eye coordination, there's technically reading still in video games, you're still following
learning, there's puzzles,
you're still following a story like you would. Cookie, stop.
Like I read every single line I could in Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8. Like I there was no
Shit ton
voiceover
of
back
reading.
then, right?
Yeah.
It was all
Yeah,
reading.
now there's a bit more voiceover, but even that in a game, there's not full voiceover typically. So you're still kind of reading. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. I know what you mean. I know the argument you're trying to make because I think it's just balance, maybe, hopefully.
It's balance, right? But then obviously it all depends on your kid, because if your kid becomes to be a book nerd, then yeah, you're right. The kid's gonna show up and like he's gonna have his book with him and he's gonna read it and you're good. Right, but it's that kid like, here, read your book. Kid's like, I don't want to read this book. This book sucks. I don't want to read. I want to play the game. Right, and then what do? Like so you're encouraging the reading because he's been playing his game all day, and he's in the doctor's office and you have another hour wait, and
You don't want to.
he's like, I want to play. I want to play. He's like, no, read your book. I don't want to read the book. Like giving him this will shut him up for the next hour, and he'll be calm and sit there and play. Is that copping out? And I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of being devil's advocate.
As long as you're not pitching it like this book is a negative thing, but I'd rather you be doing this. Link's already addicted to books. He loves books. But he'll also take my iPhone or Vanessa's iPhone and play around with it. So I think so far it's been well balanced. He doesn't take the iPhone that much, but
Yeah, but he's not reading books.
I think you are.
he's getting pretty close.
You are copping out to an extent. I think that's like a bigger question too, because maybe the conversation doesn't go that way. But if you ask your kid, hey, once like read this book, and he says no, I want to play the video game, and you give up, like I think that's like a bigger parenting issue. But it could be a cop out if like you just like don't want to deal with your kid's shitty attitude.
I've had too many fond memories and nostalgia and learning from video games that I couldn't block any of that out unless it got out of hand, like I said. But
what's getting out of hand? Like
all day, like that's what
like
they
the
do.
example I gave you, right? I want
There's no
to I want to
sports.
moderate it or monitor
this
it.
table's like slowly. Bring it back.
Get an area rug.
That's
He could have been off camera that whole time.
That's fine.
Yeah, like I said, right? It's about incorporating, even sometimes enforcing other activities into the kids' lifestyles, so that video game, even if you want to play, it's not an option. Like we're going to play soccer, we're going to do this, we're going to go to the park,
Yeah.
we're going to go walk the dogs,
Yeah,
we're
that's
going
the
to
difference,
go
right?
climb a tree.
It just has to end up being like any other privilege the
Yeah.
kid has, and I think the idea, like, it's not going to go unchecked. I think the time thing, yeah, it's going to be kind of a reward, I guess, like you would anything else. I'm more just like along the lines. I struggle with saying to my I don't know. I guess you measure your kid, but 13, 14-year-old, man, if my kid has a good head on his shoulders, maybe he could play Grand Theft Auto 6.
That's what I'm all about. Is your kid, right?
'Cause-
You know your kid. Yeah, it's 18 plus, right? But
Do you really know your kid though? There's those parents that like. There's been thousands of examples. The kid.
do you think your parents? So put it this way, do you think your parents know or knew you?
I think so, but then you have those parents though that I don't know. Another kid gets hurt at school and they're like, "That guy punched me." And like, no, my kid would never do that. Those parents
Yeah.
who are just blindly like, "No, my kid is an angel,"
Yeah,
but they're not. So long you're not that parent.
yeah.
But some kids, like I don't know, maybe some of our kids will be smarter than us. Like maybe they'll play
I
us.
hope not.
No,
I mean,
of course. But
listen, if your kid, if you can't tell your kid's a shithead and you think he's got his head on his shoulders, then play Grand Theft Auto. If I don't know, then I think you're a good kid.
but isn't that maybe that's further
But how
amplifying the problem?
Would you know?
You wouldn't.
That's
but
the
then
thing.
your kid's a piece of shit, though.
But then,
That's you ignoring the. But probably there are signs, but you ignore
Yeah,
it because
yeah.
you think he's
You have the goggles on,
even
right?
even maybe so. And I'm being just kind of like even maybe so with a baby girl
yeah.
and not boys, right? Because like
I would hope maybe my kid's more of a dick when he's with you, and then you could tell me, and then I'll believe you, obviously. And like, you're a dick. No more video games.
yeah. I mean, we talked about this, like how discipline amongst our own kids. Like if kids come over and they're playing video games, they're all being shits, and then be like, no video game today. Like I tell them that to Lincoln in Malay or whatever.
Sebastian in that corner, Lincoln in that corner.
Right?
By all means, man.
Yeah, you know, like we talked about, like we kind of encourage discipline, obviously within reason, but amongst ourselves and stuff like that.
Maybe Grand Theft Auto is a bad example because that's an M-rated game. Like Halo is an M-rated game. It's just shooting aliens in the face.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like, yeah, obviously the ones you can buy hookers and strippers and like,
and it's a very adult story. Like they're talking about, like,
right. So
I think we're more connected enough where we'll be able to better gauge this type of stuff than our parents might have.
Like when we worked at EB Games, the parents would want to buy their kid Grand Theft Auto and be like, no. The violence means you could shoot a hooker. Or, you know, you're buying doing drugs.
Do stuff. Shoot her and take your money back.
Yeah.
And then take the cab.
So the other thing was...
and you would just still buy it.
It was like... So a buddy of mine was telling me that actually he uses... It's not a video game, but it's along the same lines. An app on his phone. He's like, I have tons of games on my phone and they play it, right? Puzzles, Sudokus. But he's got like a math thing. And like... it's got to the point where like his daughter's like 2 years old, 3 years old. No, she's like 6, way older. And so she has like a tablet, whatever, and she plays with it. But she has to do a certain amount on an app, certain amount of math questions a day. Right? And it's
I used to ask my grandfather to write out. I had a lined notebook, and he used to write out 100 math problems. And I used to get excited to go over to his house for him to write me math problems. I'd go into the room for about half an hour and do them all, and then I'd give it back to him so he can mark it. That was my idea.
Yeah. But it's just on the same concept. Nerds. Like you give him like the thing, and then it's random. You set the setting, a card expert, whatever, and you have to do 50 questions. You have to get at least 80%.
And if she does that, she can play video games.
And like if she does that, then she gets to move on. Like go play outside, like whatever it is she wants to do. Like, okay, so what do you want to do? Go play outside. Go play outside. But you're doing this first. Like you come in home, and it's kind of like aside from because the homework for her, like I don't know, she doesn't have a lot of homework. So it's like that. So like it's incorporating video games now, or like interact into like the learning process, and it makes it fun, right? Because it's like okay, it's on the phone, so it's not like it just takes it away. Like if you're sitting there with a pen and paper, maybe you were excited. I used to like doing stuff like that too, but maybe you're not. But all of a sudden, it's on the phone. And it's an app where you kind of like you get the question and you have to figure it out on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, and technology is going to kind of change the way. Like I said, I think my niece. She has a tablet and she literally does puzzles on it, like just puzzles and like jigsaw. I hate puzzles, but there she is doing puzzles, right? It's just like, well, you wouldn't have brought a puzzle to the doctor's office back in the day, so it's just like
that's one thing. So like, yeah, playing video games, like instead of playing Donkey Kong,
it could be a different range, yeah. So that's interesting. So I'm looking forward to a video game coming out this Friday. It's Pokemon. I'm a 31-year-old man. I'm gonna play this Pokemon game and. Another empty promise. Maybe we'll review it for you on this show because that's what we do. Speaking of which, what we do is we come out every week on YouTube. Every single week, we never miss. And on podcast services around the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. That's been another episode of the Dads and Six podcast, episode number 12. Hit us up with the social medias. Hit that subscribe button, like, share, all that stuff. Just a reminder, we split up every single topic as an individual on YouTube. So if you see that, hit that like button. Let us know you're enjoying this. And then the whole episode comes out on Friday. But the whole podcast comes out on Monday. And sometimes we post, Instagram on Sunday. And then, maybe the Saturday we'll play board games and do all that stuff. So, and just a reminder, thanks for William for that dad topic. He gave it to me. So shout out to William. I'm sure he's mad.
He's good. He's come up with a couple of good topics in the past.
Ladies and gentlemen, see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Peace out.